So we only have one more preseason game before we have to make roster cuts and finalize our 53-man roster. So today we're going to be talking about who's on the roster bubble. Let's get into it. And here we are on the Rams Wire, and this is going to be an article coming from them, and we're going to be discussing who's on the roster bubble from their perspective and whether or not I think these players will make the team. Now, I've done a few 53-man roster predictions, so if you guys want to see my full predictions, you guys can go watch the most recent one, which should have come out a couple of days ago. But this is going to be going over a few guys who you guys didn't see and that have a chance if they play well this week and against the Broncos. Let's get into it. And the first player on the roster bubble is going to be wide receiver Lance McCutcheon. Now, Lance McCutcheon had an absolutely amazing preseason last year, and he was a player who a lot of people were excited about. I was very excited personally about Lance McCutcheon as well. However, this summer he has not had the same preseason as he did last year, and it could cost him a roster spot. The Rams have a lot of competition at wide receiver to begin with minimal impact during the preseason. It's not doing him any favors. He only played 5 snaps in the preseason game, so the Rams aren't giving him many opportunities at this point. Personally, I think Lance McCutcheon is out of this roster bubble. I don't think he really has a chance to make it, considering how well Tyler Johnson has played, and then also just, Demarcus Robinson having success in the NFL. I just think that he's probably not going to make it, especially over Ben Skowronek as well. So he's probably going to be the wide receiver that gets cut. And that's sad, but it's probably a reality. Next up, we got Mathis. A knee injury could be what keeps Mathis off the 53-man roster. He's been sidelined for weeks and hasn't taken a preseason snap yet. If he wanted to make the team, he was going to have to do that. But that puts him way behind his teammates at outside linebacker. This isn't a deep or overly talented position group, but Mathis hasn't been able to get on the field. So again, another guy that probably just is not going to get it, especially with the success of Keir Thomas. Next up, we got Jason Taylor. This is someone who I hope makes the team. He is the player that's most impacted by John Johnson's return, pushing him to the 5th safety spot. Los Angeles could end up keeping 5 safeties, which I am hoping happens, at which point Taylor would be safe. But it was also possible they remain with only 4, and Taylor isn't going to overtake Quentin Lake or Russ Yeast at this point. And obviously Jordan Fuller and John Johnson have locked in spots. So I'm hoping that we go with 5 safeties rather than 4. But if that doesn't happen, then he obviously won't make it. But I think it will happen, and I hope it will happen. Next up, we got Sean Jolly. Jolly isn't another undersized corner, but he's been getting, is another undersized corner, but he's been getting reps with the second team defense in the slot, essentially backing up Kobe Durant. The Rams don't have a lot of cornerbacks who can consistently line up inside, so Jolly might just carry enough value to get on the 53-man roster as a 6th corner. So here's the conundrum we're in. We're either going to keep Sean Jolly or we're going to go with Jason Taylor, pretty much is what I'm thinking. Because there's no one else competing for those spots. It's either we keep 6 cornerbacks or we go with 5 cornerbacks, or we go with 4 safeties, or we go with 5 safeties. So it could be 4 safeties to 6 cornerbacks or 5 to 5. So I'm hoping we keep Jason Taylor. I just like him a bit more than Sean Jolly, but also, if Kobe Durant gets hurt or something, we need someone who can line up in the slot as a corner. So whoever we do go with, I think we'll go with one of these two, not a combination of them. Next up, we got Royce Freeman. It's difficult to imagine the Rams keeping all 5 running backs, so it could come down to either Freeman or Zach Evans making the team behind Cam Akers, Kyren Williams, Ronnie Rivers. Freeman has just 9 carries for 32 yards this preseason with a long run of 9 yards. I believe he scored a touchdown in week 1, but he really shouldn't have, because Ronnie Rivers already ran one in, I believe, that game before a penalty. But either way, I don't see Royce Freeman making this team. I believe it's just going to be Cam Akers, Zach Evans, Kyren Williams, and Ronnie Rivers, considering Ronnie Rivers just killed it in that last game as well. Next up, we got Tyler Johnson. Johnson has solidified his spot in my mind, especially with that first preseason game where he had 5 catches for 70 yards. It's definitely put him in contention to make the 53-man roster, but he still has some more work to do, considering Demarcus Robinson and Lance McCutcheon are battling for snaps as well. The Rams will most likely keep 6 or 7 receivers, which means at least one of Johnson, Robinson, McCutcheon or Skoranek will be cut. Skoranek and Tyler Johnson, personally, I believe, have locked in their spots. And then I believe Robinson and McCutcheon are kind of competing for that last spot, but I think they're just going to go with Demarcus Robinson. So probably going to be McCutcheon getting cut, sadly. Next up, outside linebacker Zach Van. I'm not going to try to say his name. Van Valkenburg, maybe. Played well against the run last week when the Rams faced the Raiders, but he hasn't offered much as a pass rusher in the preseason with an outside linebacker group that is entirely up for grabs beyond the top 2 players. Van Valkenburg is trying to show that he's valuable enough. He'll need to generate some pressure on Saturday in Denver, though. Personally, I don't see Zach making the team, especially over, Keir Thomas, who's played very well. I don't see him making the team. That leads us into Keir Thomas. So we can see here, Thomas has been the Rams' best pass rusher this season, generating 5 of the 7 total pressures from outside linebackers. PFF has credited him with 3 total sacks and 6 tackles. He's flashed in each preseason game so far. I believe he's making the team. He's done enough, personally, from my perspective. Thomas is certainly pushing for one of the roster spots outside linebacker and could lock it down on Saturday against the Broncos. Great play this season so far. He's got to make it. Next up, we got QB Brett Rypien. Personally, I think the Rams are just going to go with Stetson Bennett and Matthew Stafford, but Rypien didn't get much of a chance to showcase his ability in week 2, playing just 11 snaps and throwing 4 passes, all of which he completed. Either Rams don't plan on keeping him, or they're confident enough that they wanted to give Stetson Bennett a longer look to evaluate him further. It's hard to gauge how the Rams view its backup quarterbacks. I think Rypien could stay on our practice squad, so I think that's what the Rams do. But yeah, I see the Rams just going with the Georgia Bulldog, room, and that's just how I see it. Finally, left tackle AJ Akuri. Akuri has played 26 snaps this preseason against the Raiders. He was a standout lineman in that loss, allowing 0 pressures and earning a pass blocking grade of 85. Akuri is competing to be a backup tackle behind Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein, as is Warren McClendon. The Rams may not keep both, so this is a close battle to watch with a week to go. Personally, I think the Rams are going to go with Warren McClendon, and I don't think they go with both. So AJ Akuri, even though he did play very well last week, probably not going to get it over Warren McClendon. But hey, let's see this battle. I'm down to change my mind, and I'm down to see if one of these guys earns it more than the other in this next preseason game. So a lot to look at in this next preseason game. But what are your thoughts? Do any of these guys, deserve a spot that I didn't say? Do you think that I'm wrong on any of this? Let me know in the comment section below. Other than that, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.